Welcome back, everyone. We are here again on YouTube and LinkedIn with another exciting episode of the Top Innovator Series. This is where we dive into proven leadership ideas and, of course, we hear from the brilliant minds behind them. With us today is Bob Berbeco. Bob is the CIO of Mahaska Health. Before that, he has held the roles of CTO and other tech executive roles with various organizations, many of them in the health sector. And today, we're thrilled to have Bob with us. Bob, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Bob, as we talked, the topic of our conversation is leadership. You're very successful in your journey as a leader. When you think about your own journey and you reflect on your own journey, what do you think are some of the reasons for the success that you've had? What are the ingredients to your success?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I've thought about this a lot, especially now and at this point in my career, like what has got me here. And I may digress for a moment, but I'm always wanting to grow others. So I
Okay.
feel like I'm at a point in my career now where it's important for me to empower others and grow others so that they can become great future leaders and just impart
Hmm.
whatever advice or wisdom I have. So to answer your question, it's adaptability and willingness to jump in, dive in,
Okay.
um, and volunteer. There's moments, and there's quite a few of them, moments in my career where it's funny. What I would volunteer for would be something most people wouldn't, because it would be a project, it would be an initiative, it would be something that literally is downward spiral, in flames. It's going to take a lot for it to come out. And I would put my name in the hat. I used to provide a business proposal. I'm all about process and formalization. So I would provide a pro forma to the person. And I would say, this is what I offer. This is what I could do. And here's the pros, cons, your choice. And then they would bring me in. So a long-winded way of saying that how I've grown is always being open to learning, adapting to
Hmm.
as things change over the years. And whenever I have an opportunity, just volunteer and make sure it's something that is out of my comfort zone. Really.
When you mentioned it first, Bob, I had the sense, just based on your expression, I had the sense you were thinking of a particular project. And I might be wrong. Were you thinking of
I
something?
was.
Okay, do you mind sharing it? Because it sounded like it looked like it might be a fun thing.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'll sanitize it a little.
Yep.
But oh wow, everything about this was just remarkable, and it was a project. This goes back a number of years, and it was at the bedside charge capture. So putting tools in our providers and clinicians' hands. And this is, I want to say 20 years ago. So this is almost cutting edge stuff when you're looking at the years. And it was on, we didn't have iPhones back then. So it
Hmm.
was on Palm Pilots or something like that. And everything was coalescing, like the technology wasn't working. The project itself was just, it couldn't get off the ground. The engagement, like I think it's fair to say that providers didn't feel like they were being listened to, like they weren't being engaged, they weren't being talked to. It was kind of like, here's the technology, we're going to force you to use it. And I actually was asked. This wasn't something I volunteered for, by the way. I was asked to come in, and Bob, can you help with this project? And I wasn't getting paid extra. It wasn't. I mean, there was
Okay.
no benefit really, if you look at it that way. There's no benefit to me other than the challenge, and I accepted. And I'm so grateful that I did.
Hmm.
The first 30 days, 60 days was extremely difficult. You're having to, what happens when you lose trust, especially with
Hmm.
providers and clinicians? I mean, it's a lot to bring it back. So I met with folks, I talked with folks, here's my plan. Here's recognition of all things in the bad. technology is bad, process is bad, our workflows are bad, engagement is bad. Here's all these, not to digress, SWOTs are very
Mm-hmm.
important to me, by the way. So I did a SWOT. And here's what I'm looking to accomplish. I brought in a team. These folks, if you looked at them by resume, it in a way it didn't make sense given their background. Like they didn't have project management experience, they didn't have technical experience. They all came from different parts of the organization, and they were free to be able to help me
Yeah.
with this. Um, and long story short, let's see, what are the takeaways from this? It grew me so much. It threw me in a challenge that was just almost insurmountable at the
Yeah.
time, like climbing Everest, that I grew so quickly that people, my team, they just rose to the occasion and grew as well. And like their careers have blossomed ever since. It was just a big learning lesson for us. I think is
Yeah.
the big takeaway. Sorry, it seems like you have a thought, so I'll shut up.
That's okay. No, I love the story, and it has an echo of what you mentioned before as well, the adaptability. I imagine that took a lot of adapting on your side. And something else that I also heard in there is a willingness to take risk.
Yeah, yeah. And no matter what it is, a lot of what we do revolves around trust. So this
Mm-hmm.
this goes back to just leadership in general. The folks that you lead need to trust you implicitly. The folks that you interact with, leaders, other leaders, your peers, they need to trust that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And these are simple things. I would say I've always strove throughout my career to be the best person I could. That was a moment in time where
Mm-hmm.
it forced me into a situation where I had to rise to the
Yep.
occasion. Like, yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Let me take another look at your leadership journey. I'm sure you had mentors, trusted advisors,
Mhm.
or people who were by your side who were following your journey. When you think of the advice that you got from them, what is some advice that still sticks with you? What is something someone shared with you and you feel this was important? This was something that helped
Yeah.
you?
Okay. I do. This is a good question. Um, I've had a lot of different advice, like you've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that at the time didn't make sense to me and actually seemed dismissive when it was said to me that over the years has actually resonated more with when I started my journey, I was an individual contributor. So, technical. I got to be the guy who's in the know. I have to be the technical expert, telling people what to do. What was told to me was by a director. I wasn't a director at the time. I was a director and a leader. And he said, my, I'm a director. I don't do things. I influence things to get done. And I will so at my that point in time in my career, I was like, oh, excuse me for a moment, but that guy's a jerk, right? Like you don't do anything.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a while. I've had to think about that for 20 years. And over the years I thought, no, 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 in a way he's right. I mean, don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong, directors, managers, all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
CIOs, I roll out my sleeves, I get things done. So I'm not saying that I don't. But the power we have as leaders is that influence.
Mm-hmm.
So that scale, that's the power we have. So growing that scale and cultivating that scale and using it for good is that power. So that would be one of the things that actually resonated with me that at the time didn't make any sense.
I love it. And it's very often these counterintuitive things or the ones that are sort of a speed bump in our world, in our perception, that
Mhm.
really stick with us. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe on the same vein, again, thinking back to your journey, what was a moment where you were really surprised about something? What was a moment where you thought, I've got this. I know how this is going to play out. I know what's going to come next. And then you were in the situation, it ended up being completely different.
Oh, wow. Ooh, that is a really good question. I've been surprised by a lot of things, but I'm trying to think of something that like really
Yep.
resonates. Um, I would say maybe not a situation, but people.
Hmm.
So especially like early in my career, is I felt like, just being transparent. I don't judge people, but I feel like I'm able to evaluate character and able to evaluate people and kind of determine, how what their pros and their cons and their strengths are.
Hmm.
And over the years, that's it has a dark side to it. I've learned is I will do that. So I've had people that I will kind of put in a category. And then I've learned very quickly that I was completely wrong. And I have to change my thoughts about that.
Hmm.
One reason why I mention that is something that I have been working on for myself is the concept of beginner's mind. So just always approach. So it's tough. Humans, I'm going to digress. Humans, we tend to be pattern matchers. So we tend to cognitively, okay, we've evaluated this situation. That's what it is. I've been fighting that in myself, just with people, because I'm learning the nuances of talent that people have, and you can't just simply say they're good at this or they're good at this. There's other things. So um, I would say the takeaway there is just always be open.
Hmm.
Always be open to listening, always be open to
Yep.
looking and kind of figuring out the situation.
Yep.
That's where I've had my darkest on it.
Yep. Got it. Now we talked about your past leadership journey. I'd like to take a look at today. And again, not a question about companies or about
Sure,
projects or so,
sure.
still about your leadership journey. When you look at where you are today, what's an area where you think there is room to grow? There is still potential here. There's an area where you maybe want to level up, or an area where you feel I want more here.
Wow. Um, I'm always it's interesting. It's an incremental, like, so this may be a way of me to dance around the question. But I'm at a point now where I'm incrementally looking at, so it's like that optimization loop. So I'm incrementally looking at things. Okay, what's the extra 5% to Bob? What's the
Hmm.
extra 10% to
Yep.
Bob?
Yep.
I would say the biggest things I've really been working on for myself have been that beginner's mind approach the situation as if the dark side for me is I've been in technology now for, if you include the entire time, like 30 years or so.
Hmm.
So, oh yeah, Bob knows a lot. Well, in a way, I don't. There's more
Hmm.
out there. So the dark side for me at this point in my career is to just kind of assume and tell people to do stuff and not be open to other concepts and other thoughts. So where that's the biggest improvement that
Yeah.
I've been working on is that beginners in my long story short.
Nice. Nice. You mentioned beginner's mind a couple of times now. Is there a book to it? Is there sort of a framework to it? Or say a bit more about what that means for you.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I wish I had some books like top off the top of my head. The Dalai Lama. Actually, I'm not Buddhist, but
Hmm.
there's religions, and I think I look to be a good person, and the Dalai Lama. There's a lot of teachings and a lot of quotes by the Dalai Lama, and I think Buddhism actually teaches that as
Hmm.
part of their conceptual framework is approach as if you don't know. And
Okay.
that opens your mind to what else is out there.
Okay. Got it. Note to self, I will look that looks really neat. It looks like a powerful concept because it probably allows you to see more, do more, and generally be more
Yeah.
open. Yeah.
There's a good
Mm-hmm.
if I could use a quick use case that I wish I could sort or cite the source. When you're in a meeting and this works really well because I have someone that I'm teamed up with that we're alike and we think alike. And when we're in meetings together, this concept works well is, if I'm engaged in the meeting, my mind is kind of closed a little bit because, I'm talking and I'm engaged with people, I'm focused on something. The people who are observing are the people who will see more. So the silent
Yeah.
people will be able to observe what's going on, the dynamics. And that's really useful when you leave a meeting. You can say, hey, how do you think it went? You get their feedback because they've seen the entire holistic picture. Whereas your lens was probably like, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Good. Let me ask you something else about, again, today's leadership. Do you have
Yeah.
something like a favorite leadership tool, or something that where you feel your leadership shines? This is something you really like to do as you lead your teams. Is there sort of a favorite mode of leadership for you, or a favorite tool of leadership, a go-to strategy? Something like that.
Empower. I'm all about empower.
Okay.
I'm all about, like, I don't just delegate. So what I do with my
Mm-hmm.
teams is, what do you want to accomplish? Like, ask, where are you looking to go? And where do you want your career to be? And, I really, some people are very forthcoming about that and others aren't. It's
Mm-hmm.
just how people are
Yeah.
wired. So I try to pull that from them. And then as I'm doing my job, as those tasks come in, those people, I will pick them. You're going to be the lead for this. You're going to be the lead for this. Here's the thing that I think I want you to look at. I'm here. I'm your water wings. I'm your life raft. I'll help you. You're not on your own. But I want to empower you and enable you to be a decision maker. And that's a big tool that I always keep
Yeah.
going to, is try to enable the people around me to become.
Yeah.
I did this, the project that was going downward spiral. I did this for that. They were all the decision makers. They kept me in the loop, but they were able to make decisions and make a mistake. And and then we can talk about that and learn from.
Got
So
it.
that's
Yeah.
empowerment.
Perfect. Now let me ask you a question about the future of your leadership. Let's say we
Yeah,
have this conversation again in 5 years,
yeah.
5-ish years, something like that. What do you think will be different about your leadership then? And I know we don't have a crystal ball. I know it's murky. We can't predict the future, but let's speculate for the heck of it. If we have this conversation in 5 years and we muse about the last 5 years, what do you think we would say has changed?
Yeah. Well, my hair will probably be grayer.
Leadership by hair, or lack of hair.
But no, I would say that what's important to me at this point in my career is leaving a legacy of a sort. Not, my name on a building or some big project and it says Berbeco on it, but rather the people who are around me, I want to grow them. I'd like to leave positive marks, no matter how big, how low, on the world. So 5 years from now, when we talk, I would have some things in my mind where I would think, here are some great things that I think happened. Might not have been huge,
Yep.
but there were some great things that got accomplished. And the people around them is really who got them accomplished,
Got it.
not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That was a really important addition there. Okay. I like it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I really, I'm going to digress. Apologies for that. There are a lot of great people in this world, and I've I've been blessed to be around a number of them. And sometimes all you have to do is just see their spark, see the fire that's in their belly, and recognize that it's there, not ignore it, and just give it a little bit more fire or flame, and you just watch them blossom. And that is, accolades wise, that's like the best feeling to me. That's where I feel like I've made a difference, is watching that happen, not taking credit for it. Just, you go off and you create goodness around you.
Wow. Not sure how to segue to the next question from here because
Yeah.
I really like it. Yeah. But anyway, let me ask you one last question, Bob, and then we'll wrap it up. If you had, so when you reflect on how other leaders lead, or you look at sort of the average, the generic leadership, and I know we're generalizing now. But what's something that you would do different then? What's some advice that you would have for many leaders to improve their leadership?
Focus on their people. Listen, do you know, and I'm not perfect either. I know there's things that I need to work on for myself. I just continue to work on it, but build that trusting relationship with the people that are around you and cultivate their talent and cultivate their gifts and enable them to grow is the advice that I would have. As leaders, we get really busy, we get distracted, and everyone's
Yep.
coming at us for different things. And the most important thing that you have in front of you really need to focus on is your people.
Yeah, got it. Bob, thank you so much. Been a real pleasure having you in the conversation here.
Same here. Thank you.
To everyone else out there, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, join us again for our next episode. Until then, keep your brain cells active.